I stepped into the operating room and froze. It wasn't the usual nerves, surgical masks, bright lights, the smell of antiseptic. It was her. Or rather, it was someone who could have been her, if life had been cruel in a different way. My wife had been gone 8 years, and yet in the first fraction of a second, I was convinced she had somehow returned. The doctor's eyes met mine, steady and focused, and something inside me locked. My hands gripped the edge of the gurney because I couldn't trust myself not to shake. I blinked, trying to orient. The voice inside my head whispered, "It can't be. It's impossible." And yet, memories surged like a tide I hadn't invited. Her laugh, the way she used to tuck her hair behind her ear absent-mindedly, the curl of her smile when I said something foolish. It was all there, overlaying the harsh white walls of the OR, taunting me with what could never be. I realized I was staring longer than appropriate. My breath felt loud, intrusive. Nurses moved around efficiently, equipment beeped softly, but all I could see were the features that weren't supposed to exist anymore. The doctor leaned slightly forward, checking a monitor, and I caught the same tilt of the head. The same precise way she read the room. My stomach tightened. My pulse raced, not from surgery anxiety, but from disbelief. "Dr. Hernandez." The assistant's voice cut through the haze, crisp and professional. My head snapped toward them, my eyes following the syllables like a bell I hadn't expected. Hernandez, not my wife, not even her maiden name. The shock pulled me backward, a sudden, cold clarity. I took a step back, letting the wall behind me take my weight. Relief and disappointment collided, messy and raw. I had wanted it briefly. Wished with everything I hadn't admitted in years that she had somehow survived or returned. And now the truth, flat and unyielding, slammed into me like a cold wave. My wife was gone. Forever. The assistant moved efficiently, checking instruments. "Scalpel, please." The doctor's voice was steady, competent. The room hummed with authority, but the spell of illusion was broken. I had no power here, only the strange, awkward weight of lingering emotion. I tried to focus on the task at hand. My own procedure was minor, an elective treatment, but I had felt my body stiffen, as if the doctor's gaze had somehow held a scalpel to my own chest. Slowly, I reminded myself that I was here for care, not fantasy. The beep of monitors, the soft shuffle of feet on linoleum, became grounding anchors. I breathed, slowly, reminding myself of reality. Yet the tension didn't fully release. Every movement of the doctor, every subtle inflection, kept pulling me back into memory. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of absence, compressed into a single moment of uncanny resemblance. The mind is strange in grief, willing to overlay hope on the world, to misread reality, to imagine the impossible. I realized how much of me had been waiting, silently, for a return that could never happen. The procedure ended. The doctor's attention shifted entirely to professional tasks, instructions crisp, demeanor neutral. I followed directions, careful, aware that the smallest error on my part could cause harm. And yet I noticed myself observing. Not her, not really, but the human being who occupied the same shape my mind had once loved. There was a strange detachment, a respect for competence and authority that replaced longing. The doctor's identity was hers alone, defined by skill, not by memory. Later, sitting in the quiet of the recovery room, I reflected on what had happened. My hands trembled slightly, though not from fear or pain, just from the residual rush of emotion. Grief is never neat, I realized. It does not end simply because time passes or because one thinks one has moved on. It can return without warning, wrapped in the face of a stranger, in a gesture, a glance, a shadow of what was lost. I thought about the moment the assistant spoke her name. That single word, Hernandez, had grounded me. Authority had intervened, not in a threatening way, but in a way that reminded me the world is still orderly, still rational. My grief is mine alone, reality is relentless. There is no escape in illusion. Walking out of the hospital, I noticed details I had ignored before: the crisp autumn air, the smell of coffee from a nearby cafe, the gentle murmur of life continuing around me. Life goes on, I go on. But I also carry the echo of the OR, the flash of hope, the sudden longing, the quiet confrontation with absence. That evening, I sat by my window, watching traffic lights shift from red to green, cars moving in their measured rhythm. The encounter left me hollow but awake. Personal growth doesn't always look like triumph. Sometimes it looks like surviving the shock of memory, acknowledging the pull of the past, and still moving forward with deliberate steps. I don't know if I will ever forget that face, the way it mirrored what I had lost. But I understand now that grief isn't about forgetting, it's about carrying, observing, and continuing. And in the measured quiet of my apartment, I felt that for the first time in years, I could hold both the memory and the reality without collapsing. Authority had intervened, not with judgment, not with punishment, but simply by existing, by naming and defining reality. And in that, I found a strange, understated solace. The doctor was not my wife. She never could be. But the encounter reminded me, painfully and vividly, of love, loss, and the endurance of the human heart. I rose, went to the kitchen, poured a cup of tea, and drank it slowly. Life waited, indifferent, but I felt capable of waiting too, capable of seeing the past clearly without being trapped in it. Grief had returned to me in an unexpected form, but it had left me not defeated, only aware. And perhaps that, in itself, is a quiet kind of victory.